context. But what Pete Peterson provided us with was context. And we keep on talking about this, that we got 12 hours of off-record audio conversation with him in the presence of David Wilcock, who described it as one of the most interesting weekends he'd spent for quite a long time. And we'd be talking with him over coffee, and he would say, okay, this thing I've just told you about here, you can't release this to the public because they'll kill you. And then half an hour later, he'd be telling us something else, and he said, look, you can't release that to the public because they'll kill me. And then half an hour after that, he'd talk about something and say, you can't release this to the public because they'll kill all of us. And then later still, he'd say, but you can release that because that's okay. And we just got so confused because we couldn't remember who was going to get killed or for what. And so I'll give you a heavy hint here. I'll give you a very heavy hint. In the interview that we released, the three-part interview with Pete Peterson, we eventually released it. The most interesting part is part 3, because that's the part where he kept on saying no comment, like a politician at a press conference. And the reason why Kerry was asking him particular questions was, of course, because she knew that the answers were there, because we did the video at the end of this 12 hours of off-record audio. And the reason why he was getting testy with all of this was because he thought that those questions were not going to be asked. So every time he says, I don't know anything about that, just ask yourself why he would say that, and then appear to get irritated until Kerry went on to the next thing. So what you need to do is you need to listen to that or watch that video again, then listen very carefully to Kerry's questions, and this provides you with context.
Right. Yeah, he said, basically, he called me up, and this was during the time when we wanted to release the interview. It was all done, all edited, ready to go. And this went on for, I think, a month. And finally, near the end, I kept calling him, and at one point he called me, and he said apparently someone had seen the interview, and to this day we don't know how they saw it. He says they hacked into the YouTube site, but if they did hack in, they had skills and so on, but what they didn't do is they didn't release it on YouTube. Like normally a hacker wanting our stuff or something would hack into the YouTube thing and then distribute it on the web, like before we were ready to put it out there. But this person, or whoever they were, Pete says there were several, called him up and said, I just saw your interview, and basically complained about me, which is what people do a lot of times.
Can't imagine why.
And they said, you know, and so what Pete said, he tried to use reverse psychology on me. He said to me, you know, Carrie, you look really bad in that part 3. You know, you should really get rid of that part 3. He said, because you kept asking me questions and I kept denying it. It just makes you look bad. And so that, you know, I said, thank you, Pete. I appreciate that, but I'm not going to, you know, do away with part 3. It was very interesting. So in essence, it's a denial, but the information is there. So you just have to follow that out. And there are no superficial statements. It's quite revealing. And that's true not just there. In dealing with Henry Deacon, Arthur Neumann, who is now in kind of a reclusive stage, like whistleblowers get. They come out, they're brave for a moment, then they go back in. And that's what's happening with him at the moment. He's also trying to restore his health.
Let me tell
he would play games with us. It was amazing, the number of games, mind games. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it seems that these people who have worked in black projects love to play mind games. There's someone else in the audience today loves to play those mind games. Yeah. Gives us information, tidbits here, tidbits there. Part of the thing is they're protecting themselves. If they came out and said exactly what it was and laid it all out, they'd be dead the next day, and so would you or me.
But the other thing that they're doing, and we reference this to the Jake Simpson article. It wasn't an interview, it was a report that we wrote up. Jake is one of the deepest insiders who we have ever interviewed. If you've missed that one, because it wasn't a video or an audio, then go back to this, because he really does know stuff. Earlier on, we had people on this stage who were talking about technology being 100 years ahead. I think Alex Collier, from memory, said at one point it might be 1,000 years ahead. Jake said it was 10,000 years ahead. Jake said it was 10,000 years ahead and advancing, accelerating away from us at the rate of 1,000 years per public sector year. And that stopped and made us think. And one of the things that Jake talked about, and I witnessed this for myself, was an extraordinary surveillance system that operates in hyperspace. We're not saying anything more than what we've said on our site, and we can't say very much about it. One of the reasons for that is because we don't understand it. But one of the reasons why some whistleblowers talk in riddles is because they're trying to outsmart this surveillance system. They make jokes, they talk in slang, they make little references to things in movies, they do things in little bits here and little bits there, and then they figure out that this extraordinary facility that exists that isn't infinitely powerful, but it's kind of, in human terms, it's pretty awesome, actually might not necessarily get the wind of everything that's happening, because there's this wonderful aspect of humanity that is able to understand somebody based on little clues here and little clues there.
Well, P. Peterson would call it the information field. Actually, what we're really doing, I mean, you have to think about this. We are telepathic, all of us. So if I sit in a room with you, as I'm doing here now, but what if it's one-on-one? We're exchanging information that's not verbal, obviously. But it's not verbal on many levels. We're not just talking body language. That was the most superficial level. We're talking the unseen level. And you're getting information just by being in the presence of another human being. We are exchanging information all the time. And it's fascinating. It's, you know, if you start looking below the surface. And so when we get involved with whistleblowers, that's also going on. And it's become, I have to say, over the last 3 years and beyond, we've become better at it. And we're getting very good, I'm going to say. And we get affirmations that we're on point, okay? Not only from the whistleblower themselves, revealing the information maybe a few moments later in verbal terms to what we were tapping into mentally, or it goes vice versa. They're tapping into us and telling us information that we're giving them, or that other whistleblowers have told us that we've got in our mind. Jake Simpson can pick that out of your mind and tell you it. It's an amazing skill. These people have been trained, as Duncan O'Finian has been trained. Now, you all have that capability, and some of you are using it now more than others. Some of you are more conscious of it than others. So don't be in denial over that. If you're getting information and you're not used to giving acknowledgement to that unseen world, to that information field that we're all a part of, start opening up to that, because it is out there. The truth is out there. I'm sorry to, you know, to be so repetitive on that level, but it's so amazing, and I see so few people doing it. A lot of people get really literal. They want you to tell them in words, one word after the other after the other. Information, the information field is not linear. It's all around us. So you can get a massive download in a matter of seconds, because information comes in huge packets. It's not linear. And it doesn't matter if you can't go down and cite a text in a book. Now, where did the book come from? Where does the book come from? Another human being, right? And where does that human being get that information? Another human being. And so on and so forth. So you've got that going on. You want to trust that? Well, okay, fine. But I'm saying there are other levels. It goes beyond that. Just because it's not printed in a book or you didn't see it on TV